in sports betting, everyone has the answer. These 22-year-olds that you've never heard of before, winning's made easy, and I've found the secret. How stupid are all these old guys like Fezzik, who's 60, that just never figured out how to crack the code and to be able to win betting sports? Now, that's not to prove it can't be done and someone can't suddenly come in and know how to do it. It's just so unlikely.
This is Sharp Money with Patrick Meagher on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Professional bettor Steve Fezzik joins us in the third hour, and I have to say, very proud of all of you because we got a ton of questions, and you can still get them in. If you get the question in, your name and question will be read to professional bettor Steve Fezzik. Go to sharpmoney@vsin.com. Dustin's got a ton of questions. We've got notes from Fez to get to as well as we welcome you back here on Sharp Money. You can find Steve pregame.com and Fezzik Sports with 2 Z's and a K on Twitter. And Steve, we'll start here. It's great to see you. We'll start here. The books, they were just handing out free money. It was nice of them with that number 1 overall draft pick and Caleb Williams. How'd you attack that?
Well, Caleb was like risk $100 to win $1 the day before the day of the draft. And at that point, you basically were doing a mortality assumption along with a disability assumption. Is Caleb going to die or get involved with some horrible accident or get arrested for something horrible over the next 2 days? So, and this, pros don't care what the odds are. We'll lay 20 to make $1. We'll lay 100 to make $1. So that's what the odds were at MGM Sports, and I saw it a few other books. And I basically just put out open order. I said, hey, anybody who can get me some Caleb on my buddies, risk whatever you can get down to win nothing, because it really is free money. I mean, that was, if someone had told me you can bet no on Caleb Williams to not go number 1, and I will give you $10,000, you can risk, $100 to win $1 million, I would be literally like, what do you think? I'm an idiot? You think I'm the dumbest guy ever? Of course not. It's not going to be. He's going number 1. I mean, I don't care if you give me 100,000 to 1, I wouldn't bet it. So obviously, if I'm not willing to bet the no at 100,000 to 1, I'm willing to bet the yes, risk 100 to win 1.
And you had what? Upwards of, I don't know, close to $80K invested in him?
Somewhere around there. I got into it. There's one guy out there, Rob Pizzola's friend, Johnny. Rob's very, very sharp, and I have the greatest respect for him. Johnny's very entertaining. But Johnny will be like, how can a professional bettor not know what he has on something? It's because, you're so busy. This is documented in the book, The Odds. And Alan Boston isn't really sure what he has on some games. This happens all the time where you're telling guys, get down, did we get down? And then you're like, and they text you back. You're like, all right, I'll read it later, because it's not like I need to manage this. It's literally a conveyor belt where I'm throwing hundreds on the conveyor belt and dollar bills and fives are coming off. I'll worry about that later, how many hundreds I throw on the conveyor belt. It's all on the ground. I can pick it up the night after the draft.
He's constantly with you. Yeah, well, I'll ask you, wild card weekend, what do you got? You're like, I have no clue. The accounting will be done after, because you're betting throughout the year, futures, just throwing them into the basket. You're betting. You're constantly firing. You're always like, I don't know, once the dust settles is when I'll find out what I got here.
The Oakland A's were 64 wins today at one book. 64 wins. Why is everyone not coming to Nevada or anywhere to bet the Oakland A's to win under 64 wins? Did something happen? Did the A's pick up somebody? Did they suddenly get a new ballpark overnight? I mean, they're like one game above where they were supposed to be, which was to win 58 games. And suddenly, to put this in perspective, Washington, the Commies, the Commandos, whatever they are, no, the baseball team.
Nationals.
Thank you. They're supposed to start the year, they were supposed to win 66 games. They were still at 66 today. And I was like, what's wrong with this picture? I've got Washington almost at 500. They're at 66, and they're overachieving, scrappy bunch with some talent. And I've got Oakland at 64, and they got that pirate Blackburn that pitches really well and nobody else. It's like, what is going on? So I played Washington over 66, and I played Oakland under 64. You put me down for those as official plays, those who are available at William Hill.
Big Ed, were you going to push back on the Oakland A's?
No, so here's the thing about the Oakland A's and betting them right now is, one, they played over their head to start the year. Well, what happens with Oakland A's players when other teams who are actually going for it this year and want to make additions to, fortify their pitching staffs, their benches, their bullpens for the postseason? Well, the best veterans on the A's get traded off of the team. So that means the A's are actually going to get worse. Not only are they going to come back down to earth from how they played recently, but the roster is actually going to be a worse roster later in the year than it is now.
That's why there's sites like Fangraphs, I think, have the Oakland A's like winning 70 games. I don't care. They have no idea what they're doing because they're not doing that projection. It's like, remember Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and he had Virgil? That's like the guys running the Yankees. Ted DiBiase, he's like, how much for Blackburn? Like, not enough. We need more. Virgil, some.
Open the briefcase.
Virgil, Frank, here we go. Virgil, bring out the money. Is that enough for Blackburn?
DiBiase?
Yes.
DiBiase used to say everybody's got a price, and he used to cuckold people. He used to go into the audience and just make out with women. Right there, next to their husband. Ted DiBiase, a legend.
I remember.
Hey, you mentioned. Go ahead, Dustin.
Oh, Steve.
I remember.
Go ahead, Steve.
Do you remember Brother Love? Brother Love would come on.
Yes.
He was like a pastor, and he was like Andre. This was when Andre was a bad guy. So Andre the Giant loves you. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, loves you. I love you. Hulk Hogan does not love you.
Look at you performing. Look at Fez. Okay, so Caleb was free money. Let's continue with the Bears then. So you said coming out of the draft, why you need to bet the Bears over right now. I'm taking a look at DraftKings. The Bears are set at 8.5. The juice minus 140 to go over 8.5 on the Bears.
Yes, so it's time to get into your Corvette, whether it be purple, green, or yellow, Allen Boston style, and get to DraftKings and fire, if you like the Bears, over. You will never see a better price than that. Why? Because the good story is in play. And this happened, I think, last year. I think Will Hill brought this up. The Eagles were 10.5 for a while. And there's lots of optimism and talk about the Eagles. And then they wound up closing 11.5. And they fiddled in the middle and landed 11. And I will make a bold prediction. The Bears are going to do the same thing this year. Everyone's going to be like, look at these receivers. Keenan Allen, Moore, they pick up Odunze. They're at least as good at quarterback, and this team was at least an average team last year. They're going to win 9+ games, and so the pressure on the Bears, they're going to be cutting in line to bet over 9 in August. So go ahead and knock in over 8.5 minus 140. Put me down for that as an official play right now as well. Chicago Bears over 8.5, lay $1.40. We'll figure out what to do, Patrick. I make 8. It's altogether possible. 5 minutes before the season starts, I blast out Bears under 9.5. Best bet. It may happen.
You're the best. It's an interesting note in your notes today. Then we'll get to the emails. Sharpmoney at VSiN.com. We'll have a rapid fire with Fez. You said, why, if you're a serious bettor, you need to have a phone a friend option at all times to make bets for you.
Yeah, very, very important because, like, let's say you suddenly get information or suddenly you just have an epiphany and you're like, oh, my God, Skee-Ball is pitching today for Detroit. I have to bet on the Tigers, of course, and first 5 in game, and I forgot to do it, but I'm on the highway. So you get on the phone and you call your phone a friend. And you're like, dude, get me down in Detroit first 5 in game. No problem. I'll shop it. I'll get and thank goodness, as opposed to like trying to bet it yourself on your app while you're driving down I-15 and you wreck your car and you're having a miserable day. So having someone who can get you down is going to make your life so much better. You need to have a trusted friend, preferably a guy that does nothing but bet and sits on his butt all day long in an office. Frankly, I've got several friends that qualify, so I'm in good shape when it comes to that.
Skee-Ball. That's my favorite Tiger, Mr. Skee-Ball.
I love playing Skee-Ball.
Who doesn't? You know what? You do this often. You also have Vegas tips. In your notes today, the secret of how to get free parking, resort fees waived.
We're not just going to get free parking. We're going to get stuff. I'm going to go 2 tiers here. I'm going to go fast. If you're driving, I want you to go ahead and be very careful. Take out a tablet. Get ready to start writing. No. Pull over the side of the road and take notes. Here you go. Here's how to be a VIP without ever gambling at all. Boom. Number 1, you're going to go to an MGM website. You're going to sign up for their credit card. Their credit card automatically makes you a Pearl status at MGM. Then you go to Fontainebleau. You hand them your Pearl status and say, you do a matching upgrade, right, automatically, a tier match. They're like, absolutely, and they'll give you the font blue. I don't know if it's called a diamond or an emerald. You get the idea. Then you're going to take that font blue card and your MGM card, and you're going to go to the Mirage, okay, now the Hard Rock, and you're going to get their level. Then you're going to take those 3 cards, and you're going to go over to the Win, and you're going to say, you got to match me, baby, and they will give you a good tier card. Most of these tier cards are going to give you free parking at valet. So there's a big advantage, and many of them are going to give you no resort fees when you actually stay there. Then you're going to go back to MGM with your Font Blue and your Mirage and your Win card, and you're say, I've achieved silver status, and they'll say, oh, excellent, I will upgrade you from Pearl to your next level up. You see where I'm going. So that's the low-level way to never have to pay for parking. You'll be good to go, even on fight night, at all these different properties that charge for parking. If you are a high-end person, or if you know people, it's like the A-Team. If you know someone who knows someone who can get a hold of Mr. T and the A-Team, and you can get a 7 stars rating, you are in such great shape in terms of if you're in Vegas, Patrick, because automatically you can go to the Bahamas on vacation. They have all kinds of events at 7 stars. That alone is worth like $3,000, $4,000. But here's the trick. These matching statuses right off the bat. The Win will say, oh, that's great. We'll give you a matching status. We'll give you a $300 dinner on your birthday month. We'll give you a $200 spa credit. Font Blue will give you something extremely comparable. Mirage will give you $200. You're just going to be dull. You get 2 free Win golf courses you can play as soon as they match your status for getting that 7 stars. So anything you can do to get a Caesar 7-star card, World Series of Poker, Blackjack, Advantage Video Poker, the easiest route is playing sports and partnering up with someone who's betting big. You are in spades with VIP statuses.
Dustin, did you write it all down?
This will be available on YouTube later, so I'll just go back and watch it for all the instructions.
Fezzik with the tricks. He's got a big trick bag, and when we come back, he's going to answer your questions. Remember, you can get them in right now. Sharp Money at VSiN.com. Professional bettor Steve Fezzik in the house. We were just going through some of the rewards and not necessarily gaming the system, but you were talking about Circa Sports. You're sitting in a Circa property right now. They do it a little bit differently because they rate their bettors, and you are AA status over there, Fez.
Apparently so. So Circa goes ahead and gives comp levels based upon how good a sports bettor they rate you as. And if you're rated as a very competent sports bettor, I don't know if you're getting like 0.1% of everything you bet or 0.05%. It's very modest. Whereas if you're much more of a recreational bettor, well, then the comps come better. And frankly, all places in town have done this. Think about blackjack players. If you have a terrible blackjack player, give them a great rating, because if someone doesn't know how to play the game versus someone who's an expert, the house edge versus the expert's basically 0, and versus a bad player, it's like 3%. So there's got to be, light years difference in the comps you can offer the two gentlemen.
Anything? I want to get to the questions. We got a ton of questions that came in, and I want to give you an opportunity. I've been asking Steve questions for 10 years. So this is a good opportunity to talk to one of the best professional bettors around and ask questions. So, again, it's sharpmoney at VSiN.com. We'll read your question, get your name on there as well. Anything just glancing at the 3 tonight, Miami's laying 10.5. The Boston Celtics are laying 10.5 in Miami. The Thunder 5 in New Orleans, and it is minus 6.5 with the Nuggets, and potentially no Jamal Murray. He is questionable.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to play. It sure looks like he's going to play based upon that number that's sitting at 7. But I'm going to pivot and go to a different Murphy. The one bet I personally made was New Orleans Pelicans. I played Trey Murphy over 14.5 points, $40 fine. It's currently 15.5. I would still look over for Trey Murphy. That is the wise guy player prop play of the night.
Okay, love it. Thank you for that. Big guy, let's get it started. We'll go through and again, this is the best part about this is Fezzik doesn't know the questions because he doesn't need to. Nope. Watch the brain at work. Let's get it started.
Sharp Money at VSiN.com. Sharp Money at VSIN.com. All right, first one here. This is from midweek last week. Sean Atkins emailed in on the game you were just talking about with the Pelicans. Last week you said you were not interested in the Pelicans 7-1 nor the Thunder minus 1,200. At the time, you made the line minus 1,100, 11-1. Before Game 2, the line moved. Thunder became minus 800. Did you grab this? And also, do you think this is a case of the public cause and lying movement after seeing a close game one?
Gosh, the bid-ask difference is just so great that I almost never bet these series prices because the disparity between the two. And I often talk about that the bookie says, the theoretical hold is such that I need to deal, great disparity. So, the ultimate example would be like the Celtics before their series started. Some places had like the Celtics at minus 4,000, but you couldn't get, close to 40-1 in the other direction. You had to go ahead and take like Miami at like 14-1. It's just crazy. So I talk to Jeff Benson about this all the time. I'm like, think about a roulette wheel that pays 35-1, right? So the house edge is 5.26%. If I offered the no on a roulette wheel, you could bet no, 33 black's not going to come up and lay 40 to make $1. By magically putting up that minus 4,000, the Theo edge actually for the house drops to under 1%. That doesn't make either bet any good, and it doesn't make the 35-1 bet any good either. So what happens is that I just have no interest in all these huge bid-ask disparities. Now, to be fair, Caleb Williams, hey, Fez, you laid 100 to make $1, and you only got 20-1 back the other side. Well, that's because when you hit the very, very highest level sometimes of the numbers, no one is willing to bet the no because it pays so little such that it does depress the number to where you can have a plus EV bet.
Okay, thank you for the question. Again, you have to think quickly to keep up with Fez. Let's get to the next one. VSiN, the emailers for Steve Fezzik here.
Rick Agan writes in, I'm interested to hear your response to this because it's about how X's and O's impacting the handicap. I'm not sure this is sustainable, but I look at shot selections, particularly teams that are high-volume step-back threes or long twos, and I fade them. He mentions step-back is a low-percentage shot and explains why. What you are handicapping, do you ever look at this type of trend?
No, and probably as valid. You just can't be in all places at all times with matchups. I guess if Dirk Nowitzki is shooting setback shots, he's probably going to be just fine. If James Harden is also, I would add, is the matchup such that a team's going to have to shoot more of them? Because if you got a guy that's shooting setback shots all year long, that's reflected in the stats. It's reflected in the team's power rating. Where it can be really strong, I'm sure, is if you're playing a team where guys, if you see LeBron James having to take a lot of step-back shots, that's probably going to hurt the Lakers. So I think that's X's and O's and matchups, frankly, are just not my strength. I'm sure there's people out there that do take advantage and do well doing stuff like that.
And one of the things you used to say to us all the time is, I can't name a player on this team because you're so numbers-based. You would always start your handicap with, look, I couldn't tell you a player on this team, but I can tell you what this number means.
Oh, and don't get me started with these hockey dummies that are talking about the hockey playoffs, and they're like, Gagorski's going to go off, and it's like, or Slam Nova is going to win this women's tennis tournament, and it's like you guys, you're too close to the sun here. It's like, all I want is my hockey expert to tell me what to bet. I want the team the dude plays for. I want his name, and then I want him whether bet yes, no, he's going to over under half a point. You don't just throw out a guy and don't tell me what team he's on like I'm going to know who the heck he is. Am I the only one that has – I can't name a hockey player in the entire world.
Let's get to the next question. Rapid fire with Steve Fezzik, professional bettor. Big guy, go ahead.
Sharpmoney at VSiN.com. Butch D writes in, you being a math geek, this should be right down your alley. A dealer at my local casino made an 11-card 21. It was 6 2s, 4 aces, and a 5. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. Right? Is that right? Whatever. Yep. What are the odds of doing that in an 8-deck shoe?
I'm gonna call bullshit. I'm gonna say 0. I want to see. Unless I see the picture of the 6 deuces and then the 4 aces and the 5, I believe you're making up that story, sir. And the best evidence I can give, there's a Blackjack book. It might be Playing Blackjack as a Business by Revere, but he talks about the unusual nature of, on a 10-rich deck, a dealer pulled a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4, and a 4. And he talked about how unusual that was. Well, that ain't 6 deuces and 4 aces, is it now? And just think about in video poker, how many times do you get a full house, 3 2s and 2 aces? Not very often. I understand it's 8 decks, so it's a little more common. But, 6 deuces and 4 aces, show me the picture, or I'm saying you're lying.
called BS. So, who was it that emailed that one there, big guy?
Butch D.
Well, Butch
Butch D.
Just the deuces are 1/13 to the 6th power. You won't see that in your lifetime. Give me a break. And then four aces on top of it. Come on. At least if he had said, I got a deuce and then an ace and then an ace and then a deuce, it still would be lying, but at least we could have a discussion. In this case, it's just silliness.
I just love those of you listening on the radio. Maybe you couldn't see the visual. So as you were reading the question, Steve is writing down the components, and he looked up with the widest eyes.
He stopped.
He's like, I call BS because his brain just started computing, and it wasn't computing.
Yeah, like 3 deuces is 400 to 1, right? So what's 400 times 400? Now we're at the, some crazy number already to 1, and now we're going to sprinkle in an 8,000 to 1, four aces in a row. It's not happening, not in your lifetime.
I want to call BS, is what he said. You got fired. That's about as fired up as I've seen you, Steve.
Come on. How gullible do they think I am?
Do you think Butch, big guy, between you and I, do you think Butch was really trolling?
I think Butch might be testing Steve to see if he would see through it. I kind of think he maybe was seeing if Steve would say, that's not possible, my friend.
It does now. After Steve just laid it out, it seems remarkably improbable.
No,
impossible.
I read the email like 3 times to figure out what exactly he was saying at first. I was like, wait, hold on. And then as it was coming out of my mouth, I realized how improbable and impossible it was.
And I'm going to get, and the math geeks are going to crucify me, and they're going to like, Fezzik, even though it's a 6-deck shoe, the last couple 2s are actually less than 1/13 because you depleted the 2s from the 6 decks, and now that's the least likely card, right? Because you've used 4 of the 2s up. So now all of a sudden there's only 24 2s left out of the 28 to pull out, the rest of the way. So it's even more unlikely than what I just laid out. So it's less likely than being impossible.
You're not sneaking it by him.
You can't go 5-hole with a math question on Fez. Even though he doesn't know hockey, 5-hole, you can't get it between
I know
the
the
legs.
5-hole.
I'm sure you do.
I can't see the ball. I can't see the ball in hockey. Make it bigger.
Coming back with your questions, professional bettor Steve Fezzik. Great response from you guys with questions for Steve Fezzik. So keep them coming. Sharpmoney at VSiN.com. Rapid fire. And let's keep it going. Steve Fezzik, professional bettor, pregame.com, Fezzik Sports. Sitting next to Dustin Swedelson at the D, downtown Las Vegas. I'm Patrick Maher, live from Los Angeles. Next question, big guy.
Neil Jensen writes in. Now, I'm not going to say who he mentions here, but he's asking if this guy is one of the legit top sports bettors. I think it might be him promoting his alter ego. So that leads me to this. I'll use his question to ask you a question. Are there any young handicappers out there that have caught your eye?
And by the way, if you missed the last segment, I talked about how improbable a run of getting 13 consecutive cards that all were exact sequenced, to be the exact card. Even if I only had 10 cards in the deck instead of 13, it's still over 100 billion to 1. All right, so
that's what he called BS on.
And that's a 1/10 chance, not a 1/13 chance. This is interesting.
No, by the way, I'm such a donk. I'm going 2, 2, 2, 2, ace, ace. Huh, that's wild. Steve goes, no, not possible.
No, he said BS.
What's interesting is how chess tournaments, all right? Uh-huh. You world champions, they're all like 50, 55 cerebral events, right? And there's like no 22-year-old that suddenly appears, unless he's Bobby Fischer, who is like suddenly, or unless he's like highly rated at 15. And yet, in sports betting, everyone has the answer. These 22-year-olds that you've never heard of before, winning's made easy, and I've found the secret. How stupid are all these old guys like Fezzik, who's 60, that just never figured out how to crack the code and to be able to win betting sports? Now, that's not to prove it can't be done, and someone can't suddenly come in and know how to do it. It's just so unlikely. Having said that, to be fair, when I first started sports betting, I discovered advantage parlay cards immediately almost. And it was something, and I was a very young kid, and all these old fossils hadn't spotted it. So it's not impossible, but I'm just saying you're probably the guys at the top of their game who are handicappers and bettors are probably in their 40s, late 40s, early 50s, and not like 80 and not 22.
Okay. Now, do you have one name? I know in your notes earlier today, there's one guy you wanted to recommend.
You know, there's one guy, I've been friends with him forever, and his name is Brad Feinberg, Feinberg. If you query him on the internet, you can find him. That guy wins at a higher rate than anybody that I have ever seen. He wins more than Pastrami wins. And Pastrami wins.
Pastrami's a good bettor.
Pastrami wins all the time. You know, and people are like, well, why don't I know Pastrami? Why isn't he in the sports betting Hall of Fame? And the reason being is that Pastrami doesn't he actually makes money doing all this, and he makes so much money. The last thing he wants is for everyone to know who the heck he is. And my buddy Brad basically got kicked out of a bunch of sports books, so he can't play anymore. And he provides his picks out there. But just like I can tell you, he does everything right in that props come out early in the morning, 4 in the morning. He's working on it, and he doesn't care. Patrick, he'll bet steals over. He'll bet 3-point shot made over 1.5. It all spends. Now, the liquidity isn't there, and you have to have a whole bunch of outs to be able to, oftentimes get his bets. But in terms of a short, like I say all the time, no one hits more than 55%. Poor Brad Feinberg would be insulted to no end. If I told him, Brad, you only hit 55%, he'd just punch me in the mouth.
Wow.
Are you blind? have you not been opening the emails I send you, the texts I send you? So
gonna have to send Brad a DM about coming on the show.
That would be a good idea. Although everyone will complain, $40 and $80 and $100 fines will come everywhere because you know what? Trey Murphy is going to be over 14.5, not over 15.5 by the time your show comes on. By the way, that is one of Brad's picks today. Sorry, Brad, gave it out. Trey Murphy, over points.
Next question. That was a great answer. Next one from the audience. Go ahead, big guy.
Sharpmoney@VSiN.com is the email. Mike Roth, not the former Dolphins defensive end, I don't think. I love the segment. I know how you feel about parlays in general. But one site offers your money back if you only lose one leg of an all baseball or all basketball parlay. Is the correct play to take heavy favorites and try to win a few shekels, or shoot for the moon and try for the 20-1 payout?
Very complicated question. So they can't offer that without taking something else away. So I'd have to do. Okay. Mr. Roth would have to Roth from The Godfather. There, he'd have to come back. Godfather 2. He'd have to come back and explain what I'm giving up and what the exact details are.
If it's a free play parlay, would you rather just lay a bunch of heavy favorites in the parlay, or would you rather go for the 20-1 payout?
20-1 payout. But I'd like to go for. We talked about free. The problem with free plays is that when I wager it, they take away the money I'm wagering. So, the worst free play ever would be to bet Caleb Williams, risk $100 to win $1. Caleb Williams is going to go number one. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Fezzik. You won your bet. And we've credited you $1 to your account, and we've taken away your $100 free bet. Have a nice day.
And could you just restate your stance on free plays again? You gave a great answer last week, but not everybody heard it.
Yeah, so in general, free plays are optimal to be used for big underdog money line plays or big parlays, like a 3-team parlay at 6-1. Not too big, but big. And I made the case if you had $100, if you had 8 $100 free plays, if you bet 8 games, you'd go 4-4 on average. You get $400 back. If you played 8 3-team parlays on average, you'll cash one of them, and you'll get $600 back. So you get back 75 cents on the dollar instead of 50 cents on the dollar. And if you're risk-averse, you could play all 8 combinations of 3 games. So tonight you could parlay against the spread. You could take Celtics, Thunder, Lakers, then take Celtics, Thunder, Nuggets, etc. Rinse and repeat all 8 combinations. One of them would win, and you would be guaranteed a 6-1 payout on one of your 8 free plays.
Beautiful. Let's keep it going. A lot of questions coming in. If we don't get to your question this week, we'll get it next week. Go ahead, big guy.
Andrew Rutch writes in, if you had a 75% profit boost available in one of your books, how would you use it? I've been trying to set up middles in the NBA. Am I on the right track?
Sure, absolutely. So I'd have to work out all the math. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know the optimal way to go about that. If it's a free play, again, you kind of want to have it be a big underdog money line again, and then you pop the 75% on top of it. But absolutely, take advantage of all those. Sometimes people say, and the poster child of this was, they're giving me this bonus because they're trying to trick me. There was a one time that the San Diego quarterback had an over/under of you could bet risk $1 to win 50 that he'd get over 1 touchdown. and he didn't throw a touchdown pass. Like, oh, the books knew. Well, no. They didn't know Herbert wasn't going to throw a touchdown pass. Take advantage of those promos.
Next one. Let's get another one in here.
This one coming from Greg. I'm trying to find... He just wants to tell Steve how great he is. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay, well, that's okay.
So Greg writes... Checking in from Toledo. I guess I could be one of your older listeners, age 60. We don't age shame here, Greg. But greatly enjoy the shtick and sports discussion during my run. Been listening to Fez many years. He's not the sports betting and calculus king, but the show's pop culture icon. Enjoy his 1980s references, including today's link to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Wants to thank you for that. To which everyone else has written in now saying, Steve, can we update the references?
Well, Greg is very kind. Unfortunately, Bobby and Peter have let me know that San Diego does not have a professional football team. Thank you. I was unaware of that. I will update that. Herbert plays
Steve?
for the LAC. Thank you. I didn't know that. A pop icon, one John Cusack movie, Better Off Dead, has tremendous twists, including a $2 delivery newspaper boy literally stalking Cusack the entire movie, and a French exchange student that appears to speak no English. But there might be a twist in the plot coming at the end.
What is the last series you watched with your wife?
Cobra Kai. I love.
Oh, he loves Cobra Kai.
I love
he was
Sweep
obsessed
the Leg.
with
When's
that.
the next season? It's been a minute.
There's a concern there isn't going to be a seventh season, although there's some talk there might be four episodes. And so the beauty of Cobra Kai
I got it.
is that, do we have an update about?
So the sixth and final season is coming in 2024.
Ooh. So if you missed it, obviously the original Karate Kid. So Johnny Lawrence, All-American, lives in like the 80s and like playing REO Speedwagon and Metallica and Whitesnake.
Driving a Trans Am.
I love the guy. And so he was the villain, Sweep the Leg. He was the really bad guy in Karate Kid. And Daniel was like the undersized underdog that everyone loved. Well, things have reversed. Now Johnny is 47. His life's a mess. He's divorced. He's messed everything up in life. And he really has no viable job. He is the hero. Daniel is super successful, owns all these car dealerships. He's kind of the wussy...
privileged.
Yeah, he's the guy you root against. And what's interesting, Elizabeth Shue, and we all love Elizabeth Shue.
All time.
You know what? I love that twist because that guy scared me when I was a kid. The guy at the end.
Oh, you root
the Johnny
for him now.
guy.
There's a whole conspiracy out there where if you actually watch the movie with a different perspective, Daniel LaRusso is the bad guy who comes into town and messes up his life.
Halloween night. Imagine you're at prom at Halloween night and some joker, you're just doing your business in the bathroom, they dump water all over you in your suit and in your outfit. I'd be pissed too, and I would take some action.
Who's better than you? Get your questions in for next week with Fez. Sharp Money at VSiN.com. Pregame.com. Fezzik Sports on Twitter. Steve, you're the best. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Sportsbook treats you bad. Sweep the leg, boys.